So once again, I'm Ari. I'm the founder of Awkwardly Zen, and I'm so glad to see all of you today. I am very excited to bring in Paula Robbins, who's going to teach us about cellular release therapy. I had an awesome opportunity to do a session with her this last week, and it was life-changing. I cannot wait to work with her and her team more. So I'm very excited to pass it over to Paula. So I'm going to give that to you, Paula.
Thank you so much, Ari. So before I say anything, let me just say I have a cold. You can probably tell my voice, I'm a little gravelly. So if I'm dabbing my eyes or my nose, I have a cold. And full disclosure, I'm medicated too. I feel okay. So first and foremost, let me just say thank you, Ari. Ari. This is so great that you allowed us to do this. I did not know about Awkwardly Zen. It was kind of a fluke. Kendera sent me an email a few weeks ago and said, "Hey, are you a part of Awkwardly Zen?" And I'm like, "I'm not." And it occurred to me that, well, I need to be. So I jumped in and I reached out to Ari and we had a chat and we set up this session. And I've been to one of the Zen Zooms and I'm going to the one tomorrow. I love what you're doing. I love all of what is happening with Awkwardly Zen, and it's an amazing international group. This is huge. So really, really honored to be here. And before I continue, I want to just give a quick shout out to Smita. Raise your hand, Smita. Smita is in the UK. She is one of the specialists on my team. We have 7 people all around the world that have been doing cellular release together since 2009. So we are a pretty connected group of ladies. And Smita, I'm so glad that you're here. She's here to kind of support me because she knows my voice is a little bit shaky. And when we get to the Q&A, she's probably going to chime in too. All right. So jumping in, first and foremost, has anyone here besides Smita and Ari and Kendera done cellular release? Does anybody else know what this is? Have you heard of it? How cool is that? Okay, so before I start my slides, I do have a little slide presentation. I just wanted to jump in and give you just a brief on who I am. Hopefully nobody's opposed, but just give you an idea of my background. So I'm a Denver native, grew up here in Colorado in what I jokingly call an above average dysfunctional family. Lots of trauma, lots of abuse. At about 12 years old, I started escaping into drugs and alcohol. And I got picked up hitchhiking at 20 years old by the right guy, and I ended up in recovery. So I am now 34 years sober through the 12-step programs, and I've been working with people one-on-one for over 30 years. I had 16 years in corporate America before I started my hypnotherapy practice in 2007. So 15 years in hypnotherapy, metaphysics, as a professional. I kind of teeter between the title of metaphysician and soul coach. I like them both. I think soul coaches do a lot of metaphysical work. So there's a whole lot more to that story, of course, but that just gives you kind of the background of who I am, what I do, and hopefully it gives you some idea that I truly love the work that I do. Smita has known me for many, many years, and so has Kendera. They know I love my work. They know that this is something that comes from the heart. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen and get into the details of what is cellular release therapy, and then we're going to do a little demo for you. So, all right, let's share screen, get into... Okay, so I'm going to lower this. All right, so healing at the cellular level. When I first learned about cellular release therapy, one of the things, of course, I did was go to research, what does that mean? And many believe that healing at the cellular level is about the deepest level of healing you can attain, physically, mentally, soulfully, and spiritually, in Paula's opinion. So what is cellular release therapy? Simply spoken, it's about letting go. I would imagine that you've heard from loved ones or said to yourself a time or a few something to the effect of, you need to let it go. Perhaps you've said, why can't I just get over this? Perhaps you've said, this was so long ago. Why does it still trigger? So if any of you consider a really difficult event, if you consider a difficult time in your life, injury, grief, illness, abuse, and you reflect on it, I bet you can go right there into that moment. That is because cellular memory, much like muscle memory, is like a vault. The cells remember everything, good and bad, all the way back through your entire soul lifeline, whether it's just this life or whether it's many lives. The memory of an experience is locked in the cellular memory. And there's no mistake that the word cell and the word soul are so similar. This also includes the cellular memory of the generations before us and what has been passed down through DNA. So let's talk about a little science. When we have an emotional event, our body will create a chemical cocktail. Hormones and neural peptides start releasing in many levels. And to give you an example, most of you know the words endorphin, adrenaline, cortisol. There's about 200 neural peptides and hormones that can release with any given emotion. The higher the intensity of the emotion, the higher the chemical release. The body then goes ahead and recreates the cells every 24 to 48 hours. So when you've got this intensified chemical reaction, you've got a recreation of that same chemical reaction over and over and over and over up until this very moment. So everything that you've ever been through, good and bad, is still in your cellular memory. Now, can you see how the generations before you and all that they've been through can be passed down through your DNA? Because they have the same story, but it's the parents, the grands, the greats, the greats, the greats. Everything that comes all the way back through our ancestral history is very similar because the human body has been making these chemicals through all humankind. So there's the science. Now, again, there's a lot of soul to this too, but I like to get into this piece because I think it's just a beautiful little gift of making sense of it all physiologically. So cellular release therapy is a healing modality that is based in asking the subconscious mind permission to release what has been difficult at the cellular level. So when I go back to that point, if you have a difficult event, a breakup, a loss, you lost a job, a home, a person, a pet, and it still really holds that deep grief, that deep energy. And people will say, you just need to let it go. You just need to let it go. Or you say to yourself, this was so long ago. Why does this still trigger so deeply? Well, one of the things I would imagine is that nobody's ever asked your subconscious mind permission. Can you let this go? So that once you release some of these experiences, this is kind of what happens. You can feel lighter of your body, mind, and spirit. You can make healthier choices. Word, thought, deed, movement, all of the above. You can respond versus react. You have greater focus and clarity. You are more productive. You feel healthier physically, mentally, and spiritually. You can sleep better. You live with greater ease and well-being. So how do we access the subconscious mind to address these things and ask this permission? So through hypnotherapy. So cellular release therapy is a hypnotherapy technique, and hypnotherapy is a big topic in its own right, but here's the gist. It is about communicating with the subconscious mind to create positive change that has been mutually agreed upon between yourself and your hypnotherapist. And let's talk about the subconscious mind. So we operate with only 3 to 5% of our consciousness, which means that all that we think, say, do, and be is about 95 to 97% subconscious. So a lot of what we are and how we respond, react, live, do, be is based on what's going on in our subconscious. So in order to, let's talk about that. So there's various levels of consciousness. There is beta, alpha, theta, and delta, and I want to explain them in greater detail. Some people might have heard of these, but I'm going to go ahead and explain them. So the conscious mind activity levels first are beta. This is like wide awake, like meeting somebody for the first time, or driving and looking for a landmark at the same time as paying attention to your vehicle. So that's the highest of the brainwave pace. Alpha is like relaxed or a bit zoned out, but still present. So for example, driving home from the market, we don't really think about our way home. We just kind of autopilot. The next thing you know, we're at home. However, if somebody moved into your lane, if a ball rolled in the road, you would immediately pop into beta. So I personally believe we move between beta, alpha all day. Theta is that half asleep, half awake state, and delta is deep sleep or even dreaming. The subconscious mind is 100% always active. There's no way to assess, is there, how subconscious am I? We can assess how conscious am I, but not how subconscious am I. It's 100% always active, just has different functions. So trance state is predominantly done in an alpha, slight zoned out, alpha, theta, deeper zoned out, or theta, really zoned out state. There are hypnotherapists who will work with people in delta. I'm not one of them personally. I just don't agree with it. I don't think it's effective if you're sleeping. Some people do, and live, let live, do what feels right for your own soul, for sure. So the permission piece I already talked about. So the way that we work with cellular release is we use idiomotor signals. Idiomotor signals, from my opinion, are the easiest and most accurate way to connect with the subconscious mind. When you're in a state of that alpha theta trance and we're asking a question, you can simply respond. The index finger lifts for yes, the pinky finger lifts for no. And for some people, that's almost physically involuntary. For some people, they might notice that the yes finger feels lighter than the no finger, or vice versa. Some people might see yes, hear yes, feel yes, however your instinct comes. It's very, very easy. In other techniques and modalities that myself or one of my practitioners may use, we may use dialogue and speaking, but with this particular technique, we just use the yes or no. All right, so what do we release? Difficult or traumatic experiences. That's probably the one thing that we all work with, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. Fears, beliefs, or I should say limiting beliefs. Blame and punishment. They don't do anybody any good, no matter what. Habits, patterns. Difficult life or soul themes, such as not good enough, unsafe, unworthy, difficulty in a specific relationship, themes. And what does release mean? I get this question a lot. So I kind of put down a few of the terms that I've experienced both as a client of this work, as well as what many of the people I've worked with over the years have said. You detach the emotion. You unplug from that experience. You clear and or detox the body chemicals that resulted. You let go. You really let go. You don't forget these experiences. We're not discharging the memory. So we're just removing the charge. So the triggering memory becomes stored data. You still remember the event. You can even remember the context and know that wasn't really a cool thing to have gone through, but it's no longer something that's connected and charging. So the stages of cellular release therapy, this is revisiting that last slide. So all of us work a little bit differently, but what I share is that when I start with people, I have them write a list of what are the moments, I call it a T list. What are your moments that are traumatic, that were really tough to go through, or that still trigger? Some events hit all three of those. They were traumatic, they were tough, they still trigger. So I have them write a T list. And we start moving through that list session by session to ask permission on each one. Can you clear this? Some events with a heavier degree of trauma may require their own single session if they're a pretty intensive experience. So everybody's a little bit different here, of course. Deeper layers that you may or may not remember. We don't have to remember to release. This is probably the most important aspect about this. So I've mentioned briefly that I'm also a client of this work, and I did many, many forms of healing work. I got sober at 20. I did step work. I worked with psychiatrists and psychologists and shamans and healers of many, many, many forms. And I had really grown very far at 20 years. And then I became a hypnotherapist and started working at the subconscious level. And cellular release therapy was by far the most effective of any of the work I've ever done, which is the primary reason 15 years later, I'm still a practitioner. And I don't remember a great deal of my childhood. It was tough, and there were a lot of events I don't remember, but I know that I cleared them. There's been just tremendous shifts in who I am. And other things we may not remember: gestation, birth, infancy, some toddler years. But if something happened that you know about, it's still in your cellular memory. We also clear limiting beliefs. We move into blame or punishment. So if any traumatic or troublesome events created a belief, resulted in a belief, chances are that's a belief worthy of releasing. So we go through a series of belief questions. Are there any beliefs about love, men, women, worthiness, safety, God? It's a beautiful series of belief questions that are a part of kind of the next deeper layer. We ask, is there blame or punishment of yourself or others? And can you release it? Can we get that toxicity out of the body? We look at life themes and core issues. Again, not good enough, unsafe, difficulty in specific relationships, fear of public speaking, fear of flying, claustrophobia. There's so many different topics that can be at the core for someone. There's other soul work that may be included. And for the metaphysicians in the room, you'll understand about soul contracts and vows. Anybody that doesn't understand that, please make a note to ask a question later. I'm happy to explain it. Retrieving parts of your energy or your soul. Any shamans in the room understand the term soul retrieval. This is something that's done a little differently with this modality. We're not doing it for you. We're facilitating and guiding you through every single step to call back your own energy. So how many sessions? Again, a very popular question. Some notice shifts immediately. It really depends. There's no way to answer this question with a single number. For some people, depending upon where you are in your healing journey, where you are as far as readiness to kind of dig into those ethers, it takes a little practice to learn to let go, to trust your instinct, your intuition, your inner wisdom, to relax with a facilitator. Often after a session or two, they find that they're responding far more naturally. So most people after around session 1 or 2, session 3, almost universally, I hear people say, wow, I went so much deeper today. And healing comes in layers. So clearing can invoke a deeper awareness of issues that perhaps have been suppressed, that we've stuffed, that we didn't really know were a bigger deal because there was something else that was a higher priority. So as we heal, most people know this, we heal in layers, and an awareness of something a little deeper might show itself along the journey. So some wish to keep going for numerous sessions. It's really very much up to you. And we always check in. This is something that's very, very important to me. And I think every single one of the beautiful healers on my team, we check in a lot. After session 1, how are you doing? What did you notice? Session 3, how's it going? How are you feeling? Do you want to keep going? I mean, we check in, and our entire premise is to keep you empowered and allow you to really hold the place in your own journey of, where am I on my healing journey? Where is my readiness? What am I ready to deal with? Is this the right work for me, or do I need to do something else? So we check in a lot, but it's always up to you. All right. So hopefully you all got that. This is recorded, so if you want to go back, you're welcome to. The Q&A section tends to, when I've done these before, is a lot of content. So if you had any questions, please don't hesitate to make a note of them. We will get to those, but we're going to do a demonstration. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and I am going to pin Ari, because Ari, sorry. Once we get into the demo, we're going to be focusing only on her screen. So Ari, do you think that about covered it? We've talked about it a few times now. Does that feel like kind of a not overwhelming explanation?
I always vet everybody before they come and speak for Awkwardly Zen. And it was such an amazing experience just to get to know Paula a little bit, and then to explore this. And then I did a session last week, and we worked on my perfectionism issue. Those of you who know me, look at Kendara laughing. Those of you who know me know that I have a thing with that. So we dug into that a little bit, and we're able to clear some of the things. And as I was hearing you talk, Paula, one of the things that really resonated with me was the fact that you still remember these traumatic things, but the bite of them is gone. So like when I think back to some of the things that we cleared, I just don't have the emotional attachment to them anymore. Like it's just, this is a thing that happened. And I can look at it for what it is instead of be the little girl that was going through it. And so I'm so grateful. And let me just say that before we get into the sample here, the experience of it, like, I know it's different for everybody, but for me, I could physically feel things almost like popping in me. I could feel parts of my body letting go of things. And it was surreal while it was happening. And I've gone through a lot of different modalities here, you guys, but it was so exciting to, one, feel those releases. And then as she was filling me back up with light and taking the place of that, there were colors of light that in all of my meditations I've never experienced. And so it was just such a lovely thing. I can't wait to do more and more and more. So I am for sure, like, I trust that I'll end up with the right practitioner. And I love that you have a team of people doing this, but it was so rewarding to do that one session. So I'm just grateful that you're here and sharing this with everyone.
Well, thank you. And the only thing I would add to that is that everybody clears really, really differently. So I'm sure Kendara and Smita can both speak to their experience. I don't even know how many of these clearings. I've done my whole list. I've done many, many, many deeper topics. And almost every clearing is a little bit differently, a little different, how it feels and what we go through. And every one of the ladies on my team are high intuitive. They're high empath. They are very, very connected. And we all, like when I watch somebody clear, I literally can physically see how it's moving, whether it like breezes out of them and into the light, whether it kind of starts to evaporate and hover and then dissolves, whether it pops like effervescence. There's so many different ways that people can physically feel this. And for some people, they don't notice anything physical at all. They just notice a deepened sense of calmness. as they're going through it. And everybody's different, So we, again, stay very customized to you, very tuned in to you, and very connected to your process. That's really important.
So before we get started on the example, Paula, I did put over in the chat what you are offering to folks, just so they have that, just in case they can't stay for some reason. But I would highly suggest, if you can, stay till after, so you can get the questions answered that you have, because it's a big concept. Even hypnotherapy is a big concept. So I think you did a great job of describing all of that, because
Yeah,
a lot.
thanks. I will say this is work that's been active for about 40 years, but there's very few practitioners. We are a pretty small family. All over the world now, it's growing, but there's not that many of us. There's a lot of different cellular modalities coming out now. I'm super excited about that. I love how cellular healing work is just exploding around the globe. All right, so before we get started, let me just again first say thank you, Ari. This is a big deal. This is a very vulnerable space, and I will tell you that for some people, you may be affected by what we are doing today. So the topic that we're working on is a topic that I have felt for many, many years is the greatest universal pandemic, and that is not good enough. I don't know anybody, myself included, that feels like, yeah, I am there, I have arrived, I am right? I just don't know anybody that's there. I think everybody, especially people who are spiritual and people who have good heart, they truly just keep striving to ascend and to evolve and to be better souls. So that's the topic we are going with. I think everybody's got this, but it's a bit ambiguous. I didn't want to get too very specific with anything to any one person in a demonstration. So we're going with something kind of open-ended. However, when we do the clearing, the questions that I am asking are going very directly to Ari. If you choose to close your eyes and follow along with the process, know that you're welcome. However, if you get a no, like I cannot clear, please stop. Please do not keep your eyes closed. Please open them and please pay attention and just watch and detach your energy. I do not want you, if you have a no and we release something that you were not ready to release, just by nature of being a part of and witness to this, there is a very good reason why there's a no. It's a safety mechanism. It's a secondary gain. There's a reason it's a no. If you follow along and you choose to process this, you're welcome to do that. But like I said, please respect yourself, your soul. If it says no, stop there. Either leave the call or turn on your camera, open your eyes, detach from the process and just become a witness. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do an induction that's very similar to most of the inductions. Ari goes into trance very easily, so I'm not going to do a really long one. And then we're just going to clear a few of the pieces around this so you can kind of get an example of how it works. This particular clearing we're about to do is typically, anywhere from 45 to 70 of the yes/no questions, depending on which answer is yes or no. I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to do about 5 to 10 pieces, just to kind of give you an idea of how it goes. All right, Ari. So taking in a nice deep breath. And just exhaling, softening and relaxing the body. Another nice deep breath. And this time just exhaling any stress, any tension, any pressure, letting all of that leave with the exhale. One more nice deep breath. And as you exhale, just allowing yourself to drift inward, just noticing how it feels, just to rest here, just feeling the body fully supported, feeling the peaceful healing energy of this sacred space that is your own home, noticing any familiar sounds that are around you, and just knowing that every sound you hear, including and especially the sound of my voice can cause you to drift deeper and deeper inside. And as you are drifting down into that healing place, just invite that healing light, allowing a golden rose-colored light to just flow upon you, just like that beautiful golden rose-colored, brilliant morning sunrise. Welcome this light. Breathe it into the mind, into the heart. Let it flow freely throughout the body, just bathing and soothing every cell, allowing it to bathe away any tension, any pressure that it might come to you. Welcome this healing energy in through the crown. Let it flow all the way down to the tips of your toes, just sending a healing and relaxing wave through the body. And just notice the relaxation deepening now on the scalp and the facial muscles. Into the mind, just clearing the mind. Relaxing the neck and the shoulders, the arms and the hands, every muscle in your back. Breathe this healing energy directly into the heart center. Allow a deepened awareness of your own inner wisdom, your own inner light. Allow a deepened oneness with your own higher self and the greater divine. Setting the intention here and now that we will address the topic of not good enough, the experiences of feeling this way, and we will release and clear as much as is set for divine intention for this purpose today, and perhaps more later. Breathing that light into the internal organs and the bodily systems, just helping everything to assimilate to this light, to operate in perfect balance, harmony, and rhythm. Relaxing the hips, the legs, the feet. And as this light fills you completely, flowing in, around, and through you. Once again today, I'll be communicating directly with your subconscious mind. Once again, the index finger will lift for yes, and the pinky finger will lift for no. So there's really nothing for the conscious mind to do. And you can just allow your conscious mind to rest. It's floating and resting and drifting inward, drifting down 5 or even 10 times deeper now. And once again, the index finger on the right hand lifts for yes. The pinky finger on the left hand lifts for no. Once again, the left hand index finger is yes, and the left hand pinky finger is no. So just breathing in that healing light, letting go, drifting down. And is the subconscious ready now to respond? Good. So I'd like to ask the subconscious mind, first of all, is there anything from any of the work you've already done that needs to be cleared a bit more? Anything at all? So I want to ask you now about experiences of feeling or being not good enough. Has there been more than one experience of this? More than 2? More than 5? More than 10? More than 50? More than 100? And can you now completely release and clear every one of these experiences? Good. I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear every one of these experiences. Every experience of thinking about this, any bodily, energetic, or neurological memories of these, all the shock or trauma, all the physical pain or sensations, and all of the feelings of not good enough, inadequate, fear, shame, self-critical, all of the feelings that have been a part of these, right out of your soul. From every cell, gland, organ, muscle, and bone. From your brain, spinal cord, and nervous system. From your heart, mind, emotions, from your entire energy system. So these no longer affect you in any way. When you've released and cleared all of these completely, the yes finger will easily lift to let me know. Very good. I want to direct you now, the subconscious mind, to move easily and deeply back in time with the help and the guidance of the higher self to the very first experience that in some way caused not good enough. Moving back as far back as you need to go until you arrive at this seed experience. And as you arrive at this original experience, the yes finger will easily lift to let me know, with or without conscious awareness of what the experience is. And did this experience take place prior to your birth? Did it take place at the time of your birth? Can you release and clear this entire experience now? Good. I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear this entire experience and all of the bodily, energetic, and neurological memories that are a part of this. All the shock and trauma, all the physical pain or sensations, all of the feelings that are a part of this, from every cell, gland, organ, muscle, and bone, from your brain, spinal cord, and nervous system, from your entire gastrointestinal tract and your enteric nervous system, from your heart, soul, mind, emotions, from your entire energy system. So this no longer affects you in any way. When you've released and cleared all of this completely, let me know. Good. And is there any other experience, either before or after this one, that in some way has caused not good enough? More than one? Can you release and clear this experience now? Good. Did this experience take place prior to your birth? I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear this entire experience. All the shock and trauma, any physical pain or sensations, all bodily, energetic, and neurological memories of this, and all the feelings that are a part of this. From every cell, gland, organ, muscle, and bone. From your brain, spinal cord, and nervous system. From your heart, mind, emotions, from your entire energy system and right out of your soul. So this no longer affects you in any way. When you've cleared this completely, let me know. Good. And is there anything that took place at the times of any of the experiences you've cleared here today that you heard, overheard, or saw, or that anyone around you was thinking or feeling that needs to be cleared? Can you release and clear all of this now? Good. I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear all of this energy so it no longer affects you in any way. All the shock and trauma, all the physical pain or sensations, and all the feelings that were a part of it. When you've released and cleared all of this completely, let me know. And are there any parts of your energy that are missing or fragmented due to any of the experiences that you've released here today? Are there any other feelings that were a part of any of these that need to be cleared even more? Can you clear these feelings now? Good. I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear all of these feelings so these no longer affect you in any way. When you've released and cleared all of these feelings completely, let me know. And are there any beliefs or conclusions that are not serving your highest good, that have resulted from any of the experiences that you've cleared today? More than one? More than two? More than 10? Can you now completely release and clear every one of these? Are these providing protection for you in some way? And is there now a higher way to receive this protection? And knowing that there is a higher way to receive this protection, with the help of your higher self and the greater divine, can you release and clear all of these? I direct you now, the subconscious mind, with the help of the higher self and the greater divine, all energy of 100% pure light that is present here and now, to completely release and clear all of these. Every belief or conclusion that is not serving your highest good that resulted from these experiences. So these no longer affect you in any way. When you've released and cleared all of this completely, let me know. And is there any blame or punishment of yourself or others for any of this in any way, for any of these experiences? Can you release and clear it all? Good. I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear all blame and punishment of yourself or others for any of this in any way, to clear every experience of blaming or punishing yourself or others for any of this in any way, to clear all need to blame or punish yourself for any of this or anyone else for any of this in any way, right out of your soul, from every cell in your body, from your heart, mind, emotions, from your entire energy system. So this no longer affects you in any way. When you've cleared it all completely, let me know. Very good. And are there any agreements upon your soul that are not serving your highest good that resulted from any of the experiences you've cleared? More than one? Can you now completely release and clear this agreement? Good. I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear this agreement, making it totally null and void throughout all time, all realms, all dimensions, throughout all life experiences. So this no longer affects you in any way. When you've released and cleared it completely, let me know. And are there any agreements upon your soul that have caused not good enough? More than one? More than two? More than three? More than four? Can you now completely release and clear all four of these agreements? I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear all four of these agreements, making them totally null and void throughout all time, all realms, all dimensions, throughout all life experiences. So these no longer affect you in any way. When you've released and cleared these completely, let me know. Good. And is there any other factor, reason, or cause for not good enough? Is there anything else that has caused this? More than one thing? More than two? More than five? More than 10? Can you release and clear every one of these now? Good. I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear every one of these causes, right out of the soul, from every cell in the body, from every gland, organ, muscle, and bone, from your brain, spinal cord, and nervous system, from your gastrointestinal tract and your enteric nervous system, from your heart, mind, emotions, from your entire energy system. So these no longer affect you in any way. When you've cleared all of this completely, let me know. And is there any other cause for not good enough? Anything else that has caused this? Is there anything else about this that needs to be cleared? Anything at all? Can you now completely release and clear not good enough? I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to completely release and clear not good enough. The entire habit and pattern of feeling or being not good enough, the entire energetic signature of not good enough, right out of your soul. From every cell, gland, organ, muscle, and bone, from your brain, spinal cord, and nervous system, from your entire gastrointestinal tract and your enteric nervous system, from your heart, mind, emotions, from your entire energy system, and right out of your soul. So this no longer affects you in any way. When you've released and cleared it all completely, let me know. Very good. And is it okay now for you to wholeheartedly love, honor, and accept yourself just as you are? Good. I direct you now, the subconscious mind, to make it known to the conscious mind and all levels of your body, mind, heart, and soul that you have completely released and cleared every cause for not good enough. You have cleared the habit and pattern of this. You've cleared the energetic signature of this, and that it is okay now to wholeheartedly love, honor, and accept yourself just as you are. When you've informed the conscious mind and all levels of your body, mind, heart, and soul of these facts, let me know. And is it okay for the conscious mind to have access to all of the material that you've contacted here today? I want to invite you then once again just to breathe in that light. Let it fill you completely, particularly filling the places that you've cleared. When you can feel this soft light just filling you completely, let me know. So in a moment, I'll be counting. I'll count from 1 to 5. And when I get to 5, you'll be awake and aware. You'll feel lighter, grounded, whole. You'll feel so good about yourself. It's good to know that it is okay to wholeheartedly love, honor, and accept yourself exactly as you are. So just gently now, getting ready to come back up. Beginning with 1, breathing in that healing light. It is always with you. 2, becoming aware again of your physical body. Noticing your arms, your hands, your legs, your feet. 3, another deep breath. Let the oxygen flow in with the light. 4, just moving and stretching. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Move your wrists, your ankles. Move as much as you like. Stretch a little bit. Getting ready to come all the way back up. Wide awake. Eyes open on 5.
Hmm. Hi.
Hey, I removed the pin. If you want to go back to gallery, you can. It's easy.
And that's the same for all of you. If you want to go to gallery, it's in the top right corner if you're on your computer. That way you can see everybody.
Or speaker view, your choice.
Yeah.
Wow, you do this so well. I mean, your readiness for these deeper layers is pretty incredible because I condensed a like 70 question protocol into like 10 pieces and you just hauled. Is there anyone else in the room, and please unmute yourselves, that can see energy move? Did anyone else see the energy move? You can put it in chat, of course. Yeah, I bet.
I felt it over there.
No, you moved through this really intensely. You do a beautiful job.
Thank you. You know, I think there's so many of us who do, Jillian said she felt it too, who do so much work and so much meditation and all of that, that I think for me, at least, that's what helps me let go of things quickly.
Oh yeah. There's a little story I like to tell. When I very first became a hypnotherapist, I trained under Zoilita Grant in Longmont, Colorado, and I love her. And I'd done all this healing work, and it's the first day of hypnotherapy training. And she's like, so I know that all of you are here because you care about people and, you know, you want to help others and you've done a lot of your own healing work. But I just want to forewarn you that if you've never done any work at the subconscious level, that some of the stuff you thought you've resolved might surface. And in my little, you know, arrogant mind, I was like, no way. I've done some work, lady. And it wasn't even 2 weeks into the training that there was so much deeper stuff to a lot of the stuff I thought I'd worked on that started surfacing. It was mind blowing. So the subconscious work has become, you know, of course, very important.
Paula, can I ask you a question about that? So as we clear something like not good enough, And then life gives us opportunities to gather more not good enough. How does that work as you move forward?
What a great question. And I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to forget to mention this. So I kind of look at this. One of the analogies I like to use for the soul is like a tree. It's like, here we are, we're the trunk. And up on this little corner or portion of the tree is not good enough. And here's our relationships, and here's our safety, and here's our money, and here's our career and our profession or purpose. So in the not good enough, there's this big branch that may be not good enough, but it also may be like self-loathing. It may be shame. It may be unworthy. And while these are all very similar, they're only close cousins. They're not the same. So not good enough and unworthy are very different topics. Unworthy and undeserving are very different topics. And while they have a lot of similarity and the energy's close, sometimes we have to get into a deeper creation. Rowan, I'll have to look at that. I'm not sure.
Okay. And then we have,
That's
how long will the 50% discount be going?
it's indefinite. I'm just going to leave that page up. That is a singular page for Awkwardly Zen. Anybody can use that anytime.
Okay. And so that page, is there a call to action button on your page for Awkwardly Zen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, the top link in the note that Ari put in there, that's the specific page for Sunlight Pathways for Awkwardly Zen. So you'll see if you click that button, you're getting the 50% off the initial consultation. If you navigate through the site and you were to click one-on-one sessions and go to Cellular Release, there's a call to action button there as well for Awkwardly Zen.
Thank you. And then Sophia, who's in here, who is our go-to for everything, and Amber, we just need to make sure we put that information on the recording as well. So we did have a question. So is there a connection between cellular release therapy and BAHT or BQH and past life regressions?
I don't know what those two modalities are, so maybe, but I doubt it. So cellular release therapy is kind of its own unique process. And what we just did, we did a regression. So the regression work in cellular release is fairly ambiguous and gentle in compared to specifically regression therapy. So I'm also a regression therapist, but I'm really, really hesitant to jump into regression therapy with somebody who hasn't done a lot of healing work or who hasn't done some cellular release therapy first. Kind of depends on what they come in, where they are. But when we asked Ari to go back in time to the very first experience that caused this, did it take place prior to your birth? The answer was no. Did it take place at the time of your birth? The answer was yes. Now, backing up a question, if the answer would have been yes, it took place before my birth, the next question would have been, did it take place prior to your conception? Then we know we're in a different embodiment, and that's past life. So there is a component of regression. And what I'll say, did you have any awareness about that experience of birth?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew immediately. My mom's lung popped while she was giving birth to me. And that's always been something that's been talked about kind of as a joke, that they said I took all her air, which is why I'm so loud. And which there's probably some truth, but I could feel her in that moment, not intentionally, but passing some of that to me of it being my fault. So it was, very crystal clear on that one.
Yeah. So what I'll say to that is some people do remember. They go to an event and they have an awareness of what that scene is. Some people have no idea. And this is my personal experience too. I've done a lot of these regression, deeper clearings through cellular release. Some of them I go, yes, I'm there. And I know exactly what the scene is, what lifetime, what year, all of it. Some of them I have no idea. I just know I've got a yes. So my subconscious answers. I'm there. I don't necessarily need to remember it to release it. That is by far my favorite aspect of cellular release. So you don't have to remember it to release it, but that is the regression component. Okay, we've got a couple of other questions too.
Me
So
too. Let's
I
talk
want to
about,
catch these before they scroll too high.
yeah, I'll grab them here. So can everyone be hypnotized?
The one ahead of that is treatment as
Oh,
effective
yep.
online versus in person? Yes, in fact, so I've been working online since 2009. I started working on Skype in '09, and I did 50-50 until COVID. And then after COVID, I went 100%. I had an in-person office in Colorado. And when we had to shut down with COVID, a lot of people continued their work at home via Zoom. And then they didn't want to come back into the office because at home online, you're in your own sacred space, you're in your own comfort zone. So you're much more apt to relax even more deeply. So I think both are equally as effective. And I have some people who prefer online over in person.
I would say for me, like, not that I don't think you're great, Paula, but there's a comfort in being in your own space
Yeah,
that allows you to, for me at least, to fall in faster to that comfort level, because at any given moment, I know exactly where I am and there's a protection in that.
correct. Correct. I mean, we have our energetic signature in our home. And if our home is a sacred space and our home is a safe place, then that is definitely a great place for healing work.
Before we go on to that next question, Kendara mentioned that she had a session with Paula. Can you, Kendara, unmute and tell us a little bit about some of your experience?
You're muted.
Oh, you're still muted, Kendara. There you go.
It was transformational. I have never had an experience. First of all, I could physically feel it. I could feel the stuff bubbling up. And it's so powerful that I had to turn off my screen today because I almost went back there. But right away, it was a huge release and it kept building and building. And I just want to thank you, Paula, because it was literally one of the best sessions I've ever had.
Oh, gosh, thank you, Kandera. And I'd like Smita to chime in here too, because Smita and I have known each other for a lot of years, and she's done a lot of cellular release. Anything that you want to add to anything I've said? I know you've got such a valuable contribution in the world. Please.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Smita. I'm also not very well at the moment, so excuse my voice. I've got some sinus issues going on. Yeah, so I'll try and talk as best as I can. But yeah, I just wanted to say that it really helps with trauma, especially if you have a nervous system response. You know, if you're caught in that fight or flight or froze, you know, the freeze response, then, you know, there's certain words that we can use to clear it from that system, so you're not reacting in that same way anymore. And that then affects the way that you react to those kind of situations in the future. So it really takes a lot of that nervous system response out of it. And the great thing is that you don't need to relive or re-experience anything. You just have to jot down a few bullet points. Even if you don't feel comfortable writing it down yourself and doing your trauma list, you can, you know, we can do it together as a, you know, with therapists and the client, and clear it in the session, so it needn't be traumatic. But yeah, it's a great way to release that emotional baggage that you may have been carrying around for years, and not just trauma, but difficult feelings and relationship issues. There's all sorts of things that can be done. Yeah. So I highly recommend it. I've had a lot of had a very traumatic childhood myself. I had childhood sexual abuse from a family member. And I had repressed those memories until a lot later on. I only came to the surface about 7 years ago. But after that, I also had a lot of mental and emotional abuse and relationships with family. So this has been huge in shifting that, because I found a lot of the therapies available to me over here in the UK, a lot of them based around talk therapies, which didn't really cut it for me. It was just re-traumatizing me. And this, I actually felt it could leave my body. I physically shake, or I start yawning. So excuse the yawning on the video, because I was actually releasing when Paula was doing that, even though my intention was to be awake and support Paula, but I was actually releasing at the same time. So I think one of the other people on this call have said that they were releasing as well. So that's pretty possible, because I could definitely feel it releasing from me as well. And I've cleared not good enough, but there are layers. So it's good to keep going with it. But yeah, highly transformational therapy. One of the best things I've ever done in my life is to learn this and shift so many key life themes.
Well, and I just want to shout out to Smita. I've known Smita for a lot of years, and she knows a lot of techniques. Smita is by far one of the most fascinating and curious healers that I know. She digs and she researches and she learns something and she practices it. And, you know, Smita has done sessions for me personally, and I love you. I am so grateful and honored to have you on my team.
I'm so happy and grateful to be part of your team. You know what? My first session was with Paula on that very topic that you've just cleared. So, you know, hats off to you. You're one of the therapists that I look up to the most. So, yeah, definitely.
Love it.
Okay, back to the question, can anyone be hypnotized? This is one of my favorite questions. And my answer is always only the willing. People ask this question a lot, and I think that we're in a state of hypnosis rather frequently. If you've ever got sucked into an infomercial, you were hypnotized, let me just say. But only the willing. You know, this work is something that if somebody feels resistant, if they feel cynical, if they're like, whatever, you know, I don't like this, or, and I reserve the right to refuse service to anybody. People who come in and tell me that they are atheist, I just tell them I'm not their person. You know, I work with anybody agnostic or above, but atheist, I'm like, this is really spiritual work. I think the soul is critical, but that's the answer. Only the willing. If you're willing, then I believe, yes, you can move into alpha and theta states.
Awesome. And then we have, does a person need a hypnotherapy certification to do this?
To teach this or to do this? So to teach this, I don't think so. I mean, I'm certified in.
Teach it. Only Anne can teach it.
Well, it's only being taught by the woman who created it, Anne Shane Drucker. She created it about 40 something years ago, and she does still teach cellular release therapy. She has a few of the practitioners in training to take over for her, I believe, but I don't know who they are or when this will happen. She still loves teaching, and she's very good at it. But I do believe you need a certificate to practice cellular release. This is a really complex modality. And even though there are other cellular modalities out there you can learn as a hypnotherapist, I don't think any of the cellular work or any of the subconscious work is nearly as effective if you don't have some, you know, professional training as a hypnotherapist.
And let me just say from Awkwardly Zen standpoint, and we're working on this right now, please ask questions of your practitioners. Please ask them what their training is. Please ask them how it is they came, especially with something like this that is digging in deep. It's one thing to get a tarot reading from somebody who might be new on it. It's another thing altogether to work within your soul and work within your body and release things. So please, I love those questions. Keep doing that. And if somebody's not willing to have that conversation with you, I would say that's a red flag. That's just my opinion. So thank you for saying that, Paula. Okay.
I want to address this question from Rev J because it's a beautiful question. I watched this in the awake state, and yet I felt releases also, unless I was empathically feeling area release. Is it possible to have releases in an awake state of observation? So when Anne first created cellular release therapy, she had a much, much larger base of students at the time. And she was teaching it like in a hotel ballroom. And the language that I used, that's very repetitive, is very scripted. Now, the energetic signature of each release is very different, but the language is very similar. And when the students would make their list of events they wanted to practice the language with, many of them would come back to the class and report a shift in the emotional energy of the experience. So while I have not worked with a group, it's something I'm fascinated by, and I'd like to. If you're interested in doing a free kind of trial group cellular release session, please send me an email. Paula at paularobbins.com. And anywhere from like 3 to 20 people. What I'm going to do is just do a group, and I'm going to just kind of pick some topics and do group language like this and see what happens. See what you notice over the course of a few weeks. It's kind of like a study, if you will. But my answer to the question, I believe the answer is yes. I do believe that you can, your subconscious is 100% always present. So every time I use the term, I direct you now, the subconscious mind. Every single one in this call heard that term. That's why I was really clear. If you get a no, back out, stop. There's more
even
to
Anne
look
says
at.
the same thing that you do if when she's teaching and everyone's doing it in a group setting.
Yeah.
Other people other than the client being worked on are still releasing. So yeah, it definitely works.
All right.
Thank you, Amber, for putting that in there.
Absolutely. Does anyone else have any questions?
I don't think that Anne is teaching right now. She is going through some vocal cord stuff. So I don't think that there will be any teaching this year, but her teaching is a 9-day intensive. So you meet at her house in Parker, Colorado. I think, did you take it over Skype? No, you came to Denver.
I
Smith came
came to
from the UK all the way to
Colorado, I came
Denver.
to Denver, yeah.
Yeah. But she's done some training. Some of the students have attended over Skype and Zoom.
Yeah, she used to travel. She has traveled to Europe, so she's taught in England and Denmark and places. So yeah, I don't know how well she is at the moment.
I love it. So actually, Paula, could you talk to us a little bit about the things again that you're offering, the meditation, and then the what would happen in the session if they booked a session?
Yes. So if you book the consultation, that is not a session. That is a conversation. And it's like an intake session with any therapist. If you book the consultation, you'll get an email with a link to our intake form. It may go to spam. So if you don't see it right away, please check your spam folder. Automated email does that. Once you complete the form, it comes to me directly. And depending on, this availability, the location, whose turn it is in our network, one of our specialists will respond to you within 1 to 2 business days to get you scheduled based on the question and answer. What is your availability, your best availability? You can request a specific practitioner. If you notice on the link with all of our bios are in there, kind of gives you an idea of who we are. So you can put that in there somewhere in your form. I read the form in its entirety before I ever forward it. And when you schedule that session, once we meet, we'll basically talk about kind of what you've got on tap, what we're addressing. We'll explain. I'll talk about my consultation. I share the history of hypnotherapy, what it is, how it works. In specific, I talk about the different kinds of hypnotherapy, traditional versus transpersonal. Cellular release falls on the transpersonal side. But I talk about the value of traditional hypnotherapy and a lot of stuff that you can do at home that's free. I give you a lot of practices to play with that you can start using at home, no cost, to start creating permanent shift that are also very, very complementary to the work that I do. And then I work personally in 3 stages. I think most of us do, but we're all very different. And everyone on the team has been given their freedom to do them. You do you. So each person does the consultation a little differently. But I like to give people some freebies and some education. And then I explain, this is the course of therapy. It's the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And no one is ever obligated to go beyond the consultation. The consultation is a way to prepare you for the journey, to make sure you feel like it's a good fit, to make sure you've got all the information you need. So you have it all.
Love that. Thank you. And then there's also that link to that meditation there. So people should look at that. Kat was asking if you've ever heard of people seeing downloads after getting released, that she played along and was seeing numbers and lights and symbols.
Yeah. I mean, 15 years later, I could tell you some of the most amazing stories of what people have experienced with this work, with the other kinds of work that I do. The first session that I do, and I don't know that all of my practitioners do this, is not cellular release. We scratch the surface of it, but it involves more the energy body, what's happening with the energy body, clearing energy that's not yours, doing a soul retrieval, checking the energy system, inviting in the guides to bring a greater awareness. My first session is more soul prep. Then I go into cellular release. But the things people see and experience are so different. It really depends on where you are in your healing journey. What's the nature of your soul? Some people are super high intuitive. Certain star seed clients that I've worked with have super cool, wild stories to tell me after the session. It's a big answer. I wish I could give you something more specific, but yes, in general.
Speaking of things they saw, I almost started laughing during mine when you told my subconscious to let my conscious know what was going on. My subconscious had a real fun attitude and was like dancing and like having a good time. So I almost started giggling during that moment.
Yeah. Well, this is moving from disempowered to empowered, right? So it's a completely different energy when it clears. And gosh, you just clear so beautifully. And yes, people do. The question is, do people ever share memories of past lives or NDEs? Yes. Many people will tell me if we do regress into a past life, what they saw. And oftentimes when I work with people, I see it. Sometimes when they don't, I'll ask them, so did you see anything? Because I'm knowing where I saw them go, but I don't want to lead in any ways. I don't necessarily tell them that what I saw. I want to wait to hear what they saw first.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, let me just say a few things about what's coming up. I want to thank Paula and Smita for coming in today, and for Kendara for sharing your experience as well. Thank you so much for being here. We love bringing in new modalities to us and new practitioners. And so I'm so grateful that we got to spend some time with you, and I'm sure we will again, for sure. I want to let the rest of you know, if you are not a part of awkwardlyzen.com yet, make sure you join at least our free membership, if not one of the paid levels. And that way you'll get access. This recording will be up in the next day or two on the Zen feed in there, but you have to be a member of either the free or up level to get access to that. Also, you can join meetup.com if you have not done that yet and find Awkwardly Zen. We have 16 different locations across the world. So check that out there. Some of the stuff coming up for those of you who are in our Level Up membership tonight, Jillian's teaching muscle testing. So make sure you're watching for that. Then tomorrow we have our open forum on interstellar beings. So join us for that, which is a super fun conversation just about interstellars and what people are experiencing. And then starting Tuesday, we've got our Zen Zooms. We've got 4 of those a week, and we've got some other fun events coming up. So make sure you're watching for that. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you for creating a safe space for me to go through something that I would normally not do in front of a group of 30 people. But I know our people, and I know that you all were pulsing love my way. So I really appreciate that. And yeah, any last thoughts, Paula?
Just thank you so much. This was an honor to get to share about this work that we love so much and that we've been so deeply impacted by. So I'm loving that we are seeing the word spread. Whatever happening in my universe, I'm getting these requests all the time now. Can you teach? Can you show? Not just cellular release, but in so many ways. So something's happening in my ascension, and this was just a real honor. I'm so, so grateful. Thank you, Kendara, for connecting me with Awkwardly Zen and Ari and all of you. I'm just really grateful to be here. And thank you, Smita, for joining me.
Thank you so much. And we will talk to you all soon. Have a fabulous rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you at the next event. Bye, guys.